I always believed that funerals bring out the truth in people. But on the day I buried my husband, I learned that the truth can also turn into a weapon. We had been married for 34 years. He wasn't perfect. No husband is. But he loved me, protected me, and trusted me. Standing beside his picture at the memorial, I felt like the world had shifted under my feet. I didn't cry out loud. I just held my hands together and breathed slowly, the way he taught me whenever life became too heavy. Later that evening, my sister invited me to her son's second birthday party. She said it would help take my mind off the grief. I didn't feel like celebrating, but I didn't want to sit alone in a quiet house filled with his memories, so I went. From the moment I stepped inside, I felt eyes on me. Some people hugged me kindly, some whispered, some avoided me. Grief makes everyone uncomfortable in a different way. My sister Lisa walked toward me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her long earrings swung as she approached, and her perfume was too strong. She always used it to hide her nerves. "Come sit," she said, guiding me to a chair in the corner. Her son, my little nephew, was giggling on the floor with balloons, completely unaware of the storm brewing above his small world. Lisa leaned closer, lowering her voice as if she had been waiting all day to share a secret she couldn't hold anymore. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. "It's about your husband and my son." My heart tightened, but my face didn't move. After losing someone you love, you learn to stay still, even while your world shakes. She took a breath, then said the words that made everyone around us fall silent. "My son, he's your husband's child." I blinked once, slowly. She watched my reaction like a person watching a fuse burn toward an explosion. But I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I didn't collapse. Instead, I looked at her hands. They were trembling. "Lisa," I said softly, "what are you talking about?" She pulled out a folded piece of paper from her purse. A will. At least that's what she claimed. "He promised me everything," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "Half of your house, half of the insurance. He wrote it all down. I'm entitled to it." I heard a few gasps behind me. People were listening now. Her friends, some neighbors, even a cousin who always loved drama. I sat there, still grieving, still tired, still holding the weight of my husband's death in my chest. And yet, I felt something rise inside me. Not anger, not sadness. Something softer, something almost amusing. Because the truth, my husband had already told me everything before he died. Every mistake, every secret, every fear he didn't want buried with him. So when Lisa held that paper in front of me, waiting for me to break, I simply smiled, a small, quiet smile that made her frown in confusion. She had no idea that the story she thought she controlled was never hers to begin with. The Lisa stared at me, confused by my smile. It wasn't the reaction she expected. She probably wanted me to shout, cry, or beg her to rethink what she was claiming. But grief had taught me something powerful. Sometimes silence can speak louder than any argument. She unfolded the so-called will and placed it on the table between us. The paper looked old, like something she printed in a rush and tried to wrinkle for effect. "There," she said proudly. "It's written. He wanted his son to have half of everything you own." Her voice trembled with a strange mix of triumph and nervousness. I could see her eyes scanning my face, trying to read my next move. I didn't touch the paper. I kept my hands folded in my lap. "Lisa," I said softly, "why are you doing this today? Why now?" Her face hardened. "Because you don't need that big house. You're alone. But my son, he deserves a future. He's part of your husband, too." I let her words settle. A few people had come closer, pretending to refill cups or straighten decorations, but really just listening. "She's right," someone whispered behind me. "If the child is his, then the inheritance—" I didn't turn to look. "Gossip doesn't deserve eye contact," Lisa continued, pushing the paper toward me. "He loved my son. He told me so many times. I thought you knew." I raised my eyes slowly. She flinched as if my calmness unnerved her more than anger ever could. "My husband told me everything before he passed," I said quietly. every truth, every regret, every conversation that mattered. Her expression cracked for a second. I continued, my voice steady. He didn't hide anything from me at the end, Lisa. He didn't leave this world with secrets between us. She swallowed. People began shifting uncomfortably. You're lying, she blurted. He couldn't have told you about us. He said he would protect me. I felt the room grow colder. For the first time, I saw something in her eyes, not confidence, not pride, but fear. Fear of being found out, fear of losing whatever story she had rehearsed. I'm not lying, I said softly, and you know it. She stepped back slightly, tightening her grip on the paper. Her son, unaware of everything, crawled toward a balloon and giggled. The innocence in his laughter made the whole room ache. He's just a child, I whispered. He didn't ask for any of this. He deserves love, not lies built around him. Lisa's jaw shook, but instead of softening, she hardened more. You think you can guilt me? She snapped. Your husband betrayed you. He gave me his word. I deserve what he promised. I leaned forward, still calm. What exactly did he promise you, Lisa? Did you see him write this? Did he give it to you himself? She didn't answer. Her silence stretched, thin and sharp. People exchanged glances. Tell them, I said gently. Tell them the truth. Her lip trembled. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For a moment, I felt sad for her, not because of what she claimed, but because of what drove her to this. Desperation, jealousy, emptiness she tried to fill with someone else's life. My sister had always wanted more money, more attention, more status. And now, even in my grief, she wanted more from me. She lifted her chin again, trying to recover her confidence. The will is real, she insisted, and I'm taking my share. I breathed slowly, steady, unshaken. Inside me, I heard my husband's voice, the one he used in his final days, soft, honest, tired. He had warned me this day might come. He had told me what to do. He had left me prepared, even in death. And Lisa, she had no idea what he left behind. The room felt too quiet now, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy, breath-holding quiet that comes right before a storm. Lisa clutched the paper tighter, almost as if squeezing it might make it more real. I could see her confidence slipping, piece by piece. Look, she said again, forcing a shaky smile. It clearly says half the house goes to my son, half. We don't want trouble. We just want what we're owed. People murmured behind her. A few nodded, others frowned. Everyone was waiting for my reaction, but I stayed still. Stillness is a power few people understand. I gently pushed the paper back toward her with one finger. Tell me something, Lisa, I said. When was the last time you saw him? She blinked. What? My husband, I repeated. When was the last time you saw him alive? Her eyes darted away. I already knew the answer. She whispered, 6 months before he passed. I nodded softly. And when he was in the hospital, when he could hardly speak, when he called for his family, he didn't ask for you, did he? She stiffened. A ripple went through the room. Some guests covered their mouths. Others stared at her with new suspicion. He was sick, she snapped. He was confused. He didn't know what he wanted. I tilted my head. He knew exactly what he wanted, I said quietly. He wanted honesty, peace, and time, real time, with the people he trusted. Her nostrils flared. He loved me, she barked. He told me things he never told you. I didn't react. That made her angrier. You don't believe me? She demanded. I sighed gently. Lisa, I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here because you chose this place, this day, to make a claim you know is built on fear, not truth. Her breath hitched. For a moment, she looked like someone standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to step forward or step back. I continued calmly. You think he left you something? Then why didn't he call you when he was dying? Why didn't he mention your name even once? Why didn't he ask to see your child? Why didn't he leave any message, any letter, any real will? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Everyone could feel the truth pressing in, hard, unavoidable. Then she tried one last desperate move. He didn't tell you because he felt guilty, she said loudly. He didn't want to hurt you before he died. That's why he told me to wait. That's why he said you'd understand. I felt a small, sad smile touch my lips. Lisa, I said softly. He told me everything, every detail, every mistake, every fear he carried, and he asked me for forgiveness while holding my hand. Her jaw dropped slightly. She wasn't expecting that. Not the intimacy, not the tenderness. I continued. You weren't there in his final hours. You didn't hear his real regrets. You didn't see his tears. You didn't feel his hand tremble when he apologized for things I already knew. Lisa shook her head quickly. No, no, you're lying. He wouldn't. Then explain this, I said. I reached into my bag. Her eyes widened. Everyone leaned forward. You said he promised you something, I said, but my husband didn't leave promises, he left answers. I placed a sealed envelope on the table, thick, official, edges worn from being kept safe for months. Lisa's face drained of color. What is that? She whispered. I looked straight into her trembling eyes. The truth, I said, and it has his real signature. A gasp went through the room. Lisa staggered back, her hand flying to her mouth. Panic flickered across her face. Raw, unmasked, she knew. She knew something was inside that envelope that could destroy every lie she had built. Her voice cracked. Don't open it, she whispered. Why? I asked softly. If you believe your claim is real, why should you be afraid of the truth? Tears welled in her eyes. Her confidence was gone. Her act was crumbling. People began whispering. What's in there? Did her husband leave a statement? Was the sister lying all along? Lisa backed away as if the envelope itself scared her, and in that moment, the entire room already knew her story had holes. Her evidence was weak. Her courage was borrowed, not real. But she didn't know the worst part yet and what was actually written inside that envelope. And she had no idea that it would change everything. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Lisa stood frozen, her eyes locked on the envelope as if it was something dangerous. Her hands shook. Her confidence was gone. And for the first time, she looked genuinely afraid. I picked up the envelope gently, brushing my thumb along its edge. My husband sealed this himself, I said quietly. He asked me to open it only if someone ever questioned his wishes. Lisa swallowed hard. Don't, she whispered again. But her voice held no authority anymore, only fear. I looked at her calmly. Lisa, if your story is true, this envelope will only help you. But if it isn't, then this is where everything ends. Her breath came in fast, shallow bursts. Guests leaned forward, chairs creaked. The air felt heavy with expectation. Slowly, carefully, I broke the seal. A soft tear echoed through the silent room. Strange how such a tiny sound could carry so much weight. Inside were two things, a handwritten letter, a legal document with a notary stamp. I unfolded the letter first. The familiar handwriting made my heart tremble. Even after his death, my husband's words felt warm, like he was still speaking to me. I started reading aloud, my voice soft but steady. My dearest wife. A murmur ran through the room. Lisa's hand shot up. No, stop, don't read. But I continued. If someone is trying to claim what isn't theirs, please don't cry. Please don't doubt yourself. I left you everything because you stayed when I didn't deserve you. Lisa's face crumpled. I kept reading. There was a time when I was unfaithful, a mistake that has haunted me. But I ended it long ago because I realized the woman I betrayed you with wasn't who she said she was. The entire room gasped. Lisa stumbled backward as if struck. The letter went on. I learned the child she had wasn't mine. She lied to keep me close. When I asked for a test, she refused, and that told me the truth. I raised my eyes slowly. Lisa was shaking her head fiercely, mouthing, No, no, no. But there was no stopping it. I continued reading. If she ever comes back claiming otherwise, know this. I trusted DNA more than sweet words. I had the test done secretly. and I'm keeping the results with this letter. Gasps turned into shock-filled whispers. I reached into the envelope and pulled out the second document. It was the DNA test, stamped, signed, clear. Father, excluded. Lisa's knees buckled. Someone nearby reached out to steady her, but she shook them off. No, no, he loved me. He said, he promised, he told me. But the room no longer believed her. I spoke softly, not angry, not triumphant, just tired. Lisa, the truth was always going to find you. He didn't leave you a house. He didn't leave you money. He didn't leave you promises. He left you the truth. She covered her face with both hands, sobbing, not out of grief, but out of humiliation. The guests looked at her with pity and disappointment. I placed the documents gently on the table. My husband made mistakes, I said quietly, but he didn't want his lies to keep hurting people after he was gone. He wanted peace, real peace. Lisa slowly lifted her tear-streaked face. Why? Why would he do this to me? She whispered. I looked at her sadly. Because he realized honesty mattered more than secrets. Because he didn't want to build a future on a lie. And because he knew truth always arrives, even if you try to outrun it. Her shoulders slumped, her voice cracked. What do I do now? I sighed gently. Start with the truth. It's the only thing that can save you now. For a moment she looked like a child, lost, scared, without a plan. Then she ran out of the room, pushing past people, her sobs echoing down the hallway. No one chased her. No one whispered anymore. Silence settled again, not heavy this time, but clean. Like fresh air after a storm, I closed the envelope and held it to my chest. My husband's words, his regret, his attempt to fix what he broke, all of it felt like closure, finally. After Lisa ran out of the room, everyone remained frozen in place, unsure whether to speak, to comfort me, or to pretend nothing had happened. But I didn't need anyone to say anything. The truth had already done what words never could. I took a slow breath and looked around at the guests. People who had known my husband, people who had known us as a couple, people who believed a version of the story that wasn't entirely real. Some approached me quietly. Are you all right? One asked softly. I nodded. I am. For the first time in a long time, I am. Because for years I had lived with questions. Questions about his late nights, his sudden guilt-driven gifts, his silence on certain days, his emotional distance. I forgave him, but deep inside me, a tiny wound stayed open, whispering doubts I never dared to voice. Now that wound finally closed, not because he was perfect, but because he had tried to make things right, even after he was gone. I walked out of the hall slowly, holding the envelope against my chest. The sun was setting outside, painting the sky a soft orange. The warmth touched my face, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel heavy. I felt lighter, not happy, not relieved, just at peace. Peace is different from joy. It doesn't laugh. It doesn't dance. It simply lets you breathe without pain. I drove home with the windows slightly open. The air was cool, a quiet comfort wrapped around me. When I reached home, I placed the envelope on the kitchen table, the same table where my husband and I once shared coffee, sometimes in silence, sometimes in laughter. I sat down and opened the letter one last time. His handwriting made my eyes sting. He had written, "If I can't make up for my mistakes while I'm alive, let me protect you after I'm gone." I closed my eyes and whispered into the quiet kitchen, "Thank you. Not for the money, not for the house, not even for the truth, but for the closure, something I had never expected to receive." Later that night, I stood by the window watching the street. The world continued as if nothing had happened. Cars passed, neighbors walked their dogs. Life kept moving. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. When I opened the door, I found Lisa's mother, a quiet woman I had spoken to only once or twice. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. "I heard what happened," she said gently. I nodded. She hesitated before speaking again. "Lisa isn't a bad person. She's just lost. She built her whole life around that lie. She didn't know how to live without it." I sighed. I know some people hold on to false hope because it's the only thing they have left. She stepped forward slightly. She asked me to tell you. She's sorry. She just doesn't know how to face you. I nodded slowly. Tell her she doesn't need to face me. Not yet. Not until she's ready to start telling the truth. Her mother gave a small, grateful nod and walked away. I closed the door and leaned against it. I wasn't angry at Lisa anymore. Anger weighs too much, and I had carried enough weight for a lifetime. Over the next few days, people called or visited. Some apologized for doubting me. Some brought flowers, as if mourning the idea of a marriage that was never as perfect as it appeared. But I didn't need apologies. The truth had already given me everything I needed. One quiet evening, I took a walk through the park. The breeze was cool and smelled faintly of rain. Children played in the distance, their laughter echoing lightly through the trees. I sat on a bench and closed my eyes. I thought of my husband, the man he was, both flawed and loving. I thought of Lisa, a woman whose lies were built on desperation. I thought of myself, a woman who had survived more than she ever expected. And I realized something simple, something powerful. Closure isn't about forgetting, it's about understanding. Understanding why someone failed you, understanding why you stayed, understanding where the pain ends and where you begin again. As I walked home, I whispered a quiet promise to myself. I will live the rest of my life without secrets, without fear, without doubt. I placed the letter and documents in a small box, tucked them safely into my drawer, and turned off the lights. The house felt warm again, alive, mine. Before going to bed, I whispered one last thing into the darkness. You made mistakes, but you gave me the truth, and that was enough. Then I closed my eyes and slept without dreams for the first time in a long time.